meeting on the 1st of July. Please note that the meeting may be recorded and broadcast by the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes. If we can then move to the agenda, please. And the first item is any apologies. And I don't think we have any apologies. We've got a full attendance here today. Any declarations of interest? Councillor David Hughes?
Could I rent out one of the building trustees to the Flying Start? I did like to declare interest.
Okay.
However, because I'm a trustee and there's no financial, I'm able to stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Yeah, no problem. So the first item then in the reports is the draft forward work programme 25-26. Have members had the opportunity of looking through the draft forward work programme, and first of all whether they have any questions regarding it? Okay, no questions. I can't see any hands up. Any comments, please? Okay, no comments.
We're going to bring up this one.
Yeah, there is one matter which has been brought to my attention by Councillor Julia Jenkins. Would committee agree to the November meeting being brought forward? If we can do this, we're checking with Democratic Services, but I don't see a problem as long as members agree, is to bring this meeting forward to a 2 o'clock start, because there is the event for White Ribbon taking place at 4 o'clock. So,
and said we can only make it later, not earlier.
Oh, right.
Can I just ask then, so not even the slightest bit earlier, the flag raising should be about 4:45. The event doesn't normally start till after 4:30 anyway, so with it being earlier, even if we could do it 1 hour earlier, that would be beneficial. Thank you, Chair.
So Anne's advice is that we can't have it
earlier, but you can make it later.
Yeah. Could we, in principle, take that forward to ask for it earlier and get reasons why? Because it wouldn't have been... Oh, is it already showing up on the website, do we know?
Yeah.
It is already, is it?
It would be, that would all be agreed at the annual
Ah, right, yes. I take your point, yeah. Let's see, should I take it forward to investigate what we can do to accommodate both the committee and the White Ribbon? And the White Ribbon is definitely it, because Julia thought it was 4 o'clock.
If we stick into...
Oh, yeah, but...
if we stick
to last year's agenda, then the flag raising would have been at 4:45.
Right. Julia, though, I think has been to a meeting today, Julia?
Okay. Yes, so have I.
Oh, right, yes.
Yes,
so they wanted to be prior to the flag raising.
Ah, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's all following on from the flag raising, though, as it was going to do last year. Let's make inquiries then and see what we can do to accommodate both the committee and that event.
Thank you, Chair.
No comments online, so we'll move on then to the next report, which is the early help hub. My apologies, I'm jumping the agenda. We'll move on to the Flying Start eligibility and access report, which has been taken by Sarah Ostler. Thank you, Sarah.
Chair, are you going to allow Louise to introduce the report?
Yeah. Yes, Louise?
Yeah, I'm happy to introduce the report, Chair, if that's okay.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the purpose of the report is to share with elected members and colleagues the progress of the current rollout of Flying Start childcare provision. The report provides an update on the implementation and progress of the Flying Start programme expansion across Merthyr. It outlines current achievements, including full childcare coverage, system improvements and strengthened partnerships, particularly with Cwmtaf. The report also highlights key next steps required to ensure sustainability, quality and accessibility of services, especially for children with additional needs and those requiring Welsh medium provision. Continued collaboration, performance monitoring and data integration remains central to delivering the programme's aims effectively. So the purpose of this report is that scrutiny members are asked to note and debate the contents of the report in relation to publicising the childcare offer, the proposed future use of the outreach provision, the approach to cross-border arrangements and contractual arrangements with Cwmtaf, University Health Board, and scrutiny to add value by looking at any barriers, including funding, attendance, and working with parents, and use this to inform priorities for the service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Louise. Sarah, is there anything you wish to add to that, please?
I think that was a... No, thank you for that, Councillor. I think that was really a helpful summary of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, please? Raise your hand. I can see David. Yes. It's not showing up on my screen here, really.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just butt in before my modern.gov is not opening, so I can't even see my questions. So I'm blind at the minute.
Nothing wrong with pen and paper, Caesar?
Yeah.
You're far from room. No, I need to report. I need the actual reporting.
Sorry, Barry. The chair's screen where the questions come through is completely blank.
I think we can get through by raising hands. We can get through by raising hands. So I think David was the first. Hand up. David?
Yeah. Report, in fairness. What I would like to ask, you know, the areas, is there any chance that the areas are going to be expanded in next year?
So with regards to the coverage of Flying Start childcare, as the report highlights, we've now got 100% coverage across Merthyr, which pleased to say that we're the first local authority in Wales to achieve 100% coverage. So all of our 2-year-olds are now eligible for funded part-time childcare, and we're fairly confident that we're in a position, as far as supply of childcare, to be able to offer every child a place who requires one.
Well, come on, that's nice to see. So we've got enough people to run out this childcare provision.
Yeah, currently, so we've currently got enough sufficient places. What we can't guarantee at this stage is that they will be in the parents' first choice of place, or that they will be within the 10 to 15 minutes walking distance as per Welsh Government guidance. For those children that they're unable to achieve their first choice, or it's not within the 10 to 15 minutes walking distance, it'll be a minority rather than the majority. And there is, as the report states, there is still further expansion of provision happening, and in particular relation to the Welsh language provision and availability of that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Any further? Councillor Ian Thomas?
Chair, just ask a general question. Can any system of benefits based on postcode ever be fair?
I think any targeting of services has always got its flaws as a system. Where we haven't got universal provision, I don't think any system of targeting is ever going to be absolutely perfect. I think it's the best situation that we can put ourselves in. What we did locally with Flying Start is we went in accordance with the Welsh Government guidance and the indices of deprivation. And whilst not perfect, we were fairly confident that the areas that we were targeting were the areas in greatest need, albeit it's still not a perfect system. But as I've said, that now that childcare is universal, we've taken away that geographical targeting, because every child is eligible for Flying Start childcare, and that was always the most popular element of the Flying Start programme, the funded childcare. So I'm really pleased to say that we're no longer in a postcode lottery situation, certainly when it comes to childcare.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Julia Jenkins.
In that we've got full coverage, but why was Merthyr the first to be 100% coverage?
I think a number of reasons. We had a high, so the Welsh Government, so the Flying Start programme has been in existence now since 2007, and over the years there's been numerous expansion of that programme, and we had a higher starting point. So prior to the last three expansions, we were at 42% expansion of our population, and the rest of Wales were averaging a 25% coverage for childcare. So we had a higher starting point to get over the line. And of course, because of our size as well.
Yeah.
Well, a number of reasons. Because of our size as a local authority, we haven't got some of the vast challenges that some of the larger local authorities, but also because we've got sufficiency of childcare.
Yeah.
So we're confident that we can go to full expansion because the childcare places are available for to meet with that demand.
Okay,
so there are a number of reasons, but yeah, it's one that we're particularly happy that we have become first over the line.
Councillor David Isaac.
Thank you, Chair. Can I take you back to the statement about first choice areas for parents? Have we any complaints or issues already registered on that? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. We haven't at the moment, and there are very small pockets, geographical pockets where that would be the case, where parents wouldn't get their first choice. And we are able to offer them alternatives. And what we have seen happen is that we would be able to offer them a reduced offer. So currently children are entitled to 12.5 hours of childcare a week, but it may be in the first instance that they can't access the full 12.5 hours, and parents are happy to accept that to be able to get their first choice, and that would increase then over the 3 terms that they were available as the places became available. But what I will say is that is in a very small minority, and no, we haven't had any complaints to date where that has happened.
Thank you for that.
Any further questions?
I'm up, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get, only now my mod.gov is coming on and it's not doing tidy. My first question was about the cross-border. How's that working at the moment? Because clearly you're stating about Caerphilly and sorry, my question's not coming up on you because I'd already prepared my questions for you. But I'm sure it starts on 5.5 where you're on about the cross-border. But the one thing, pay cross-border providers, our rates, not Caerphilly childcare rates. So what is happening with Caerphilly at the moment is number one. And what is the difference between Caerphilly rates and our rates, please? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Karen, I'll answer the first one. So, just to put into context, the Welsh Government has issued guidance saying that they want local authorities to be ensuring that we put cross-border arrangements in place so that families have flexibility of where they can access their Flying Start childcare place. Within reason, it's got to be within the best interests of the child. So, with regards to Caerphilly, I'm pleased to say that we've now got those arrangements in place, whereby we are contracting with individual childcare providers in Caerphilly for our families to be able to access their childcare cross-border. So that's really encouraging that we've now got that in place. Certainly, obviously, as you would imagine, it applies down the valley, down that sort of Nelson area, and that's where we've got the most demand for that at the moment. We're not talking huge amounts, we're only talking 9 children currently who are looking to access cross-border, but at least it's giving parents that option. With regards to the rates, the Welsh Government have allowed local authorities to set their own rates for childcare and what they pay childcare providers for that place, and that varies across Wales. So Caerphilly has, I haven't got the figures to hand, so I apologise, but Caerphilly have got a different rate to us. Ours is £19.61 and Caerphilly's will be slightly different. But we've committed to paying our rate to Caerphilly providers because we are contracting with them directly as opposed to via the Caerphilly local authority. So there are variable rates across Wales.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, sorry, I am finished here, sorry. Another thing, can you just explain to me, why is my notes not saying? You've stated in, shut that down, 510, we currently provide an outreach approach that is previously approved by council. The approach enabled high-risk families, right? So, can you explain an outreach approach? Because if you're saying, because you've just stated about the demographic with where the families are and so on and so forth, so I'm not quite. I seem to be missing the point on that one with the outreach approach, please.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. If you're not steeped in it, it can be really confusing. So no, I completely understand. So the Welsh Government gave us the opportunity to provide a percentage of our Flying Start allocation as outreach. And as Council has already suggested, Flying Start was a geographically targeted programme. So we were able to support families who fell outside of that postcoded area based on need. But of course, now that childcare is 100% across the county borough, there are still other elements of Flying Start which are geographically targeted. And one of those elements of Flying Start that's geographically targeted is the antenatal midwifery support. So we've got so through Flying Start, we've got enhanced midwifery support to be working with high need families. So what we would want to do is, and historically our outreach requests have come in for childcare. Now that's going to be removed, we want to refocus that outreach capacity towards that antenatal period so that we know that we can offer additional antenatal midwifery support to high need families outside of Flying Start areas. And that's the approach that we would like to refocus that outreach on.
Thank you.
I hope that's answered your question.
No, that's fine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair. My next one is a comment, so I'll...
It's a follow-up, Sarah, with regards to cross-border that Claire raised. Obviously, with regards to Caerphilly, there's no protocol in place. That's what you're saying, isn't it? It's an arrangement between the council and the individual care providers, isn't it?
Yes.
That's correct. The protocol is in place with RCT Bridgend, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
Why is there no mention about Blaen y Gwent then?
So it's on a needs basis. So until there's a demand from a family, a request from a family coming through and saying we would like to access our place in Blaen y Gwent, there hasn't been the need for us to necessarily put those processes in place.
Yeah.
We know that we've got them in our back pocket should that request come through, and we can kind of start to put them in place. But rather than put them in place and let them lay dormant, we're waiting to see if there is that request come through from families.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we could be going to Cardiff. We've previously had requests from Cardiff. We could be going to, all other local authorities and putting that in place, and there may be not the need for it.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for those requests from families to come through if they do come through.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And just follow on from Councillor Ian Thomas's question. It hasn't. What were the areas called? It wasn't a postcode lottery as such, but it was ONS statistical areas. I think they were called.
It was the original Welsh Government directive was around the numbers of children living in income benefit households aged 0 to 3. and then backed up by the WIMD data, the Welsh Indices of Multiple Deprivation data.
Yeah.
So there was a number of data sets that were put alongside each other that then we arrived at the targeted geographical areas, which were based on lower super output area geographical areas rather than wards.
Yeah. Sorry, that was the word, lower super output areas. But obviously then within some areas there were people who could not afford childcare, living in an area which was classed as affluent, and they obviously then were not eligible. So this has now resolved that, certainly with regard to childcare, this has now resolved that anomaly, really, isn't it?
It certainly has. I think the challenge for us now is making sure that parents are taking up on that offer.
Yeah.
You know, the benefits of attending childcare, you know, are well evidenced. We know that parents will be somewhere in the region of about £3,500 better off financially from the funded childcare. So it's about making sure that we actively promote, which we're doing quite well, and that there is the take-up of that childcare.
Yeah. And my final question was in relation to publicity, etc. In paragraph 5.3, I wasn't sure what you were. It was the last sentence. What you were referring to in the last sentence, the mass publicity approach. Paragraph 5.3.
Okay, that was around treading with a little bit of caution around how actively we shout about the fact that we've got full coverage of Flying Start at the moment. We need to be absolutely confident that our supply of childcare matches our demand for childcare. And whilst on paper we are fairly confident that we have a childcare place for every child who requires one, we didn't want to do huge mass publicity about it, only to find that perhaps there was some gaps in that.
Yeah.
We are fairly confident now, and we're confident that in September there's going to be a ministerial statement sharing that news, the fact that we are the first local authority, but we just wanted to tread with caution in the first instance, just to make sure that we did have enough places for every child.
As you confirmed to Councillor Hughes, there are now.
Yeah.
Right, if we can move on, unless there's any more questions, we move on.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, okay, Councillor Hughes first and then Councillor Isaac, okay?
Sorry, yeah. Is it 12.5 hours you said there?
Yeah.
12.5 hours. Is there any scope to increase that? Because taking a child for that little time to provision, you know.
I mean, the 12.5 hours has been based on evidence from a study that was done called the EPI study, and that was the optimum time for a child to be in childcare provision to get the maximum benefit from it. So that was agreed many years ago by Welsh Government based on evidence. There are no plans that I'm aware of currently from Welsh Government to increase the 12.5 hours, and that would come at a huge financial cost because you know, it is quite a high cost activity.
Councillor David Isaac.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just clear something up? You were speaking about your midwifery care. Does that cross into Caerphilly as well?
Not at the moment. The midwife capacity that we've got within the Flying Start programme is exclusively for the original and the phase 1 areas. So no, there wouldn't be that capacity that would move over into Caerphilly.
Yeah, thanks. I was got a couple of questions afterwards if it was. I mean to say I'm aware of the 15-step challenge in Cwm Taff, so I was wondering how that would have gone across to Caerphilly.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question?
Mine was a comment, but I think I need to ask a question for my comment, if you don't mind. Yeah, I've tried pressing this, but it didn't work. I do apologise. 6.5, you state that there's no financial penalties clause that is being written. Can you just explain about that? Because my comment was going to be, you know, when the penalty clause is written, could we possibly have a look at it? But I'm just thinking, I don't even know what it's there for. Who is being penalised? Because if there's a penalty clause, somebody's being penalised. So is that us? Is that the provision? Is that a parent? So that's why I've asked that question now about that one. Thank you.
So Flying Start, the local authority through Flying Start contracts, commissions with Cwmtaf Morgannwg Health Board, and we commission for a number of health services, including health visiting, speech and language therapies, midwifery, etc. One element of that contract, the health visiting contract, we're very prescriptive about what we would need to be delivered from that element, and it's for around a number of additional visits that the health visitors should be doing above and beyond their standard visits to families. And what we've been working with the health board over is there's been really poor performance over those additional visits, so they were not fulfilling their full responsibilities. So we've been working with the health board over a period of time to say this is not good enough, and unless you're going to perform and increase the number of visits percentage-wise, then we're going to need to put a financial penalty into the contract with you, where we'll withhold funds if you do not deliver. So I'm absolutely delighted to say that we have talked about the penalty clause and we have provisionally put it in. But we've said that we will suspend it for this year pending an improvement in performance, and I'm happy to say over a relatively short period of time they've significantly improved their performance. So I'm feeling really hopeful that that will continue, but there's an extra layer of quality assurance and monitoring gone into that to make sure that it's sustained. And that we won't need to be putting in that financial penalty to the health board, because that isn't what we want to do. But actually it's about performance and families getting the visits that we've agreed to.
Oh, do you know what, Sarah? I'm glad I asked that question now, because it was just going to be a comment about for us being able to see it. But thank you ever so much, because that makes a lot of sense now. So thank you, and thank you, Chair.
No problem.
Thank you, Councillor George. We move on to comments on them, please. Any comments? Councillor David Hughes?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear Sarah give us that an answer, because I know historically they haven't been showing up doing the visits, to be honest with you. When I was the cabinet member, I remember that we had a pretty poor show from the health, and it's lovely to see you put them in place, I think.
Any further comments? Okay, before we close the report, then we have to consider whether the committee addressed the recommendations in the report and how did scrutiny add value. Well, I think there's been quite a number of testing questions and delving questions there. Unless members disagree, I think that value has been added, and we've also learned, I think, ourselves from what has been asked. So if we could move next then to the Early Help Hub. And again, is Louise going to introduce?
Yeah, I'm happy to if you want me to. That's fine. Okay, so Early Help Hub Care Inspectorate Wales Engagement Activity Report. So Scrutiny members requested an updated information on the Early Help Hub Care Inspectorate Wales Engagement Activity from April 2025. The Early Help Hub can support families to access the right support at the right time. The Early Help Hub provide advice, information and support around housing, finance, education, health and wellbeing, parenting, community activities, childcare and play. So this report provides an update for scrutiny on the engagement visit and actions on the recommendations. So the report is available via the background papers link. So the Care Inspectorate Wales sought to explore areas of strength and areas for improvement with the Early Help Hub and preventative services for children and families. The report reflects on the strengths and areas of improvement and how these will be actioned. Some of the key strengths identified were positive relationships, improved communication and co-production, effective collaboration and co-location practices, and valuable youth services. The engagement was overall positive, highlighting effective partnership and practice. Some of the recommendations are for other agencies about improved information sharing and increasing understanding of what services should provide. And it's important to share the positive work of all involved with the Early Help Hub and team around the family. So the purpose of this report in 2.1 is the content of the report to be discussed and noted following the Care Inspectorate Wales engagement activity in April 2025, and members to receive a report on the areas of improvement and the action plans in place, and to use this to inform future priorities for the service. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Louise. Joanne, are you obviously leading on this as well? Or is it Lisa? I'm sure.
It'll be myself, yeah,
okay.
but nothing further to add
Okay.
at the moment. Any questions?
Any questions, please? Are you Claire?
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Chair. Joe, 6.1.4. So you say the PCSOs. Can you answer anything on them?
Sorry, is it working? Because it's not gone green. So, okay, sorry, my mod.gov isn't working either, so I've got a printed one. So Anne is trying to sort it out in the background for me. Sorry, apologies. Which number would you want me to look at?
Right, it's going to be page 35.
Oh yeah.
And it's 6.1.4.
PCSOs.
So it's the PCSOs.
Yeah.
So since I do believe, I may be wrong, but the RCT PCSO came over to us, as in my ward. He is since now, he's covering more areas. So my question is, do we honestly believe the PCSOs, they seem to be overstretched at the moment, and what benefit are they giving us at present? Because there are numerous wards now, like our PCSO now is currently 2 wards, and that's Park Ward and Cabartha Ward, because there's long-term sick. So wasn't something put in place for situations like that, where we had like maybe long-term sick, or because it just seems that the PCSOs are overstretched, and I'm not seeing any benefit at present, especially reading this. I don't know, we're not getting representation properly, so yeah.
Yeah, so myself and the head of service from RCT met with the police regarding this when it occurred, because obviously we weren't consulted. It occurred and we were informed, so we spoke with them about it. There was probably limited impact that discussion had. They were very clear this is happening, and it will be happening across the South Wales police footprint. They felt that Merthyr Tydfil would be better off in terms of, because we will now have an extra PCSO, like you said, from RCT. It's really hard to comment, isn't it, on myself and what the police, the decision making on it, but we have challenged them on it, and I suppose that's also available for people within the community if they feel that they need to probably have that discussion with the police, unfortunately. You know, we have tried, and we continue with that relationship between the Early Help Hub and the PCSOs that were based with us, and continue that working relationship, and we do, but again, like you say, there probably isn't enough to go around for the whole of Merthyr Tydfil. But probably across the whole of South Wales police footprint. But I know that, you know, financially it's been quite a challenge for the police as well to manage it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Chair. That's really appreciated. Thanks, Chair.
Any other questions? Okay. No other questions? No. I perhaps misunderstood the reading of this. I thought there was a PCSO was moved from RCT to Merthyr.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But
So
I think what Councillor was saying was that someone's gone sick, so they're being spread. So the 3, we're now back to 2
perhaps
again.
But what we are talking about, yours, I understand, is a PCO assigned to the hub, isn't it? The issue of PCOs generally is not an issue for this committee. This is PCSOs for the hub. And I'm not criticising you, but just to get clear what we're talking about, it's the hub PCSO, not the general situation with PCSOs.
The hub PCSOs are now, the hub PCSOs have now been moved by the police into the community, so we no longer have that specific PCSOs within the hub. And then I think it was meant to increase Merthyr Tydfil's cohort of PCSOs, but I think there's probably been, sounds like I wasn't aware of sickness. So I think that's the
point. Obviously, yes, it's been used to supplement the other PCSOs.
Because, sorry, I can see my mic is still on. I mean, with the early help hub, you know, I think you've got a lot on your plate with that, especially with some of the current behaviours that are going around. And I know ourselves in my ward, we have got a lot of issues with the young people, and so with that PCSO who came over to us, now he's gone. He's two. He's not only us, because a lot of the intervention that was needed was the situations that were occurring down our area. So, you know, I just wanted to question, because I can see there's a lot of sickness and everything, and I didn't know how it was going to affect it.
I can see the relevance of it now,
So thank you. Sorry, Chair.
Are there any further questions? We'll move to comments. I think David Hughes has indicated.
Yes, my comment is, with the large increase in police precepts here, I would have thought that they could afford to give us more than one PCSO, especially with the 6.8% rise. So that's my comment.
Any further comments? Sir George Jenkins?
A lot of residents have come to us with queries, and you know, we've sent them to the early help hub. If I've gone with them, or they've gone, I found it very beneficial and a brilliant service. So thank you.
Any further comments? Mine is part question. I should have asked it when we moved on to the comments. Obviously, we need to compliment the department on the strengths which clearly shine through there. So that's my comment on that. And often we dwell on the weaknesses, not the strengths, but the strengths are shining through there. But with regards to those areas for improvement, are you quite confident that you will be able to overcome the issues which have been raised by the inspector?
Yes, so we had a meeting 2 weeks ago with the relevant parties. Some of them, it's really hard, isn't it? Because it's an engagement session, there was only 5 families, so sometimes what a family would perceive as their experience, when we look at the evidence for, you know, the greater number, we couldn't evidence that some of them, you know, and that's, you know, CIW were very clear that this is 5 families, and is their views a lot of it, so it's really hard then perhaps to say that is everyone's experience. So we've had the audit, we've had the Families First the work undertaken on it, so we're quite confident on where we're going. We've discussed some of those areas, but perhaps some bits of training and work ongoing. So, yeah, we're confident that those are quite, I can say, minor issues, but when you say, you know, compared against the whole of the report, we're really pleased on how positive it was.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, again, we've got to consider whether we address the recommendations in the report and whether value was added by scrutiny. What are members' views that we have?
I think the report was such a good report. It was very hard to find anything to try and go to beyond to.
Yes.
But no excellent, no excellent report, and I know the work that's going on is excellent, to be honest. So we got to commend the authority for the work that's been done.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. We'll move on now then to the Independent Reviewing Officer and Child Protection Chair's Service Annual Report. Before I ask Louise to start, or Joanne, bit of remiss of me really, because I noticed Suzanne is mentioned in the report, but there are people along here who some members may not know are here, and they should have been introduced at the very start. I can introduce the colleague, or the lady to my right here, because Alex Beckham is now head of adult services and was previously working for the authority about 8 years ago. So obviously this is Alex Beckham, and perhaps Joanne will introduce. I'm assuming this is Suzanne.
Yes. Oh, I don't know how my microphone won't work anyway. So this is Suzanne Ainsbury. She started with us probably 12 months, 13 months ago now, as our head of the IRO, child protection, and our quality assurance, both across both adults and children's services.
So my apologies to members and officers for not doing that, and obviously our colleague has left without being introduced. But
Yeah, so it's Helen Lang. I think most people know Helen anyway, principal manager. So.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So Louise, are you going to take us into this initially?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the independent reviewing officers, IROs and child protection chairs sit with the Safeguarding Review Service as a local authority which has a role in ensuring the high quality of care planning is achieved for children and young people of Merthyr Tydfil known to its service. IROs and child protection chairs can play a dual role in chairing children looked after reviews and child protection conferences. So this report is the first annual service report on the IRO and Child Protection Chair Service. The report contains data collected throughout the year, the main issues and developments for 2024-2025 and plans for 2025-26. The report outlines effectiveness, impact and the actions taken in the year, staffing structure, developments within the service and key improvement objectives for the service moving forward. IROs and child protection chairs play a key role in ensuring that care plans for children were progressed with a central focus on their needs, their wishes and feelings, and what intervention and support was required to help children achieve their goals. So the purpose of this report in 2.1 is for the content of the report to be discussed and noted, and members to consider the impact the new role has had in ensuring effective practice, looking at staffing structure and any barriers, and to use this to identify any priorities for the service going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Louise. Joanne or Suzanne, do you wish to add anything, please?
Oh, I'm all for these microphones and I can never get them to work. No, that's fine.
It is working. Yeah.
It is working now, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Suzanne? Okay, move on to questions then.
I don't think this is good.
Okay. It's only David.
No, they wait for me to ask first.
Yeah.
I did have my hand up before you joined.
I know, but
I think she did. Go on, Councillor Julia Jenkins first.
I've got 3 questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. In the body of the report, it said there's been 7 staff previously over the same amount of years, and now we've got a full-time IRO, so we've got 2 permanent workers, plus we've got 4 contracted workers and unemployed staff. 4 employed staff, 4 contracted workers. Do you think people haven't stayed because of the size of the workload?
No, so this hasn't been because it was the contracted workers, so we ended their contracts with us. So we've got 2.5 posts at the moment, which are covering the equivalent amount of work because obviously the contracted workers weren't doing full-time hours.
Yeah.
So it's equivalent. So it's not been anything about workload because they had continued with the contract, and we're the ones who terminated. If that makes sense.
Okay. And what was the next one? Sorry. With the decline in the child protection numbers and the children looked after, do you think that the early intervention has made this possible? Yes,
I think there's a significant amount of different things that have impacted on it. It's the way we've been working through children's services right from the front door all the way through the services. I'm really proud of the numbers that have gone in the work that's been done by the whole system, really. And how we review.
25%, isn't it? What they've gone
so we're 155 children looked after today and 63 on the child protection register. Yeah. So the work is still continuing and there's still work ongoing. So we're really proud of the work that's been taken at the moment.
Thank you.
And your third one, Councillor Jenkins?
Oh, yeah, I combined the first 2 into one.
Dio. Councillor Taylor Jones.
Thank you, Chair.
TV,
yeah.
Similar size. But,
No, I'm Thank you, Chair, and I'm glad it's coming to me because I'm going to follow on from Julia's, because my question is, so how many IROs do you actually have and what's their caseload,
So you have
please? That's all you have is two?
2.5 posts.
Because I just thought I was misreading that.
No. And do you know, sorry, I have to go to Suzanne, who team manages them, because it's changing.
Yeah, I've had to sort of break it down really. So in terms of CLAR, the full-time worker, there's one has 47, another full-time worker was 75. The part-time worker then has 32. In regards to child protection, the one full-time worker has 21, the other full-time worker 23, and the part-time worker 19. It's taken some...
No. What you remember is they they chair the meetings. They're not case holding those young people, so they attend. So the child protection conferences will be one every 6 months. Children looked after reviews will be 20 days with them coming into care, 3 months, and then every 6 months. So the workload, it sounds like really high numbers, but in comparison to the other local authorities, we're in line, and with the plans to continue to decrease. What I need them to be able to do then is pick up other bits of the quality assurance and audit work, so that their job will change to look into the quality of the work we're providing. So although it does sound loads, if you were case managing all those young people, but it's not, it's chairing meetings. And then they have someone, in child protection, they have someone doing the minutes for them, for the children looked after, they type their own minutes. So, it's a different way of working, if that makes sense, to actual social workers who are case holding those young people. We certainly wouldn't be looking at anything near that at all.
But isn't that still high? Because you're chairing those meetings, they are strenuous. You're not going in there, you're not playing cards, you're listening to some case-sensitive information. And to be honest, if somebody's chairing a meeting and there's all those children, they should have some case of personalised care as well. I wouldn't appreciate going into a conference and somebody chairing the meeting and they didn't have a clue, or they mixed me up with the next person. I just think that I feel that the ratio is just not balanced.
It is, in terms of other local authorities, they're looking at around 90, 100 cases of looking at young people they're working with. Our numbers aren't really significantly high. It's manageable. The people who are doing it at the moment haven't raised issues about them not being able to cope. When Suzanne provides them with support and supervision, issues aren't being raised, that things are unmanageable, and our cases continue to go down in the right direction from my point of view. We have got IROs who would happily step up if we felt it was unmanageable, who, the contractor workers would come up and pick up additional work if necessary. We're not seeing it as an issue, and we're not seeing it as unmanageable.
Okay. Can I just add? I mean, I've been in social care for over 30 years, and IRO post has always been seen quite attractive to social workers, because they're not case holding, they're holding others to account. They've got more leverage now in that they are independent, so obviously they can escalate it if they've got concerns. And I know it sounds like a high number, but they're not seeing 75 children every week. They're seeing them over a period of a year, and I've not known any IRO mix up children cases. Obviously they go into meetings prepared, they know the case. If the children are of an age, then they attend their own meetings, and sometimes we encourage them to take part in the chairing of that process. So it's a dual meeting, it's their meeting. And obviously the IRO then facilitates that. But they have a lot of support. Suzanne is the supervisor, and obviously if there are any issues. So I appreciate the number sounds high. If a social worker walked in here and said, my caseload's 75, but I'm managing 75 families, I would agree with you. I'd have a quarrel with myself. But social workers are not carrying caseloads like that. These are IROs who are managing meetings, and they have a lot of admin support around it as well, especially in the child protection arena.
So can I just follow on from something you said though? Because you made a comment about complaints. You said, what did you just say? You said something about nobody has complained to you about the caseload or anything that's happened. So have any families said anything about the way the IROs are working, or have they picked up on anything?
No, the chairs are given a report days in advance to read and prepare, so they're aware of the families and the case, the young people and the families they're working with. So they have all the documentation with them and are prepared. So complaints haven't come to us from families. I know it probably does, like Lisa was saying, it probably does sound high, but honestly that is how it is across Wales in terms of the amount of workload.
I mean, if for example we ever got a complaint about a meeting, so for example some people clash personality-wise, and you might get a child who's a teenager who doesn't like their IRO. Well, obviously we would take that into account and we'd look at matching them with the right IRO because we want to make sure they have a good relationship. So obviously anything like that, we take into account. But I'm not aware that there are those concerns. Obviously, people leave post, and when we change the contracted staff, then some children had to have new IROs, and they've got to build that relationship. But equally, we've had some children who they've had an established relationship with that contracted worker, so we've maintained that because they're of an age 16, and we don't feel it's appropriate to change that. So, we take that into account. So complaints are taken very seriously because obviously children at the fore of, what the work we do, and want to make sure it's a good experience for them.
Can I just ask one more question? Yeah. And Lisa, you're well within your right to an answer if you don't feel comfortable, or Suzanne. The IROs for the children, how many of them have we got? The ones... So this is where I'm a bit confused at the moment, because obviously, as you all know, I work with children, and our IROs with the young people, they're very on point. They don't just chair the meeting, but they have a weekly catch up with our young person, and I'm just...
But are we talking across purposes? So our independent reviewing officers, their role is to chair the child protection conferences or the child looked after review. And they may do quality assurance, their own files, and they would obviously meet with the child before meetings. And if anything happens between one review to another, then obviously they can have access to that. We obviously have an independent visiting scheme that is completely different to the IROs. And obviously you've also got social workers, so each child has an allocated social worker. And obviously I would expect that child to see their allocated social worker quite regularly, which is totally different to the IRO.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's because the IROs and other councils have got more hands-on, because we have regular meetings. They ring them every week. So that's why I'm a bit...
But they may be what you're thinking of is independent visitors.
No, they're
as
IROs.
Opposed to...
Yeah. They are IROs. Yeah, thank you.
Obviously, I have some background in childcare, and I've never come to the house.
Thank you, Chair. I think Lisa might have answered most of this, but I jotted it down, so I'll ask it anyway. It's about the care plans for the children in care. To what extent do the children in care contribute or agree to their own care plans?
Yeah, so they're co-produced with the social worker and the young person. So the social worker will be out visiting the young person, having those discussions with them if they're of an age, because obviously babies will be very different. We've started, or Suzanne's team has started a pilot with some of our teenagers actually chairing, as Lisa said, their own children looked after reviews. So they're really are significantly involved in the plan and how that direction going forward. Every young person is different. Some young people don't want to be involved in the process because they don't want to be part of that system. But we try and engage them as much as we possibly can, have those discussions. Social workers will visit them, discuss with them. The IROs will also, so we've brought in since April that the IROs will have a midpoint review, so they'll meet with the social worker and have those discussions, and they should be meeting with the young person to have a discussion before the meeting if they're not chairing their own, and if they're of the right age to be able to have that communication to make sure that their views are part of the plan. We also have an advocacy service, so certain young people can be part of the advocacy service, and they can tell the advocate then what they want passed on in their reviews or the child protection conferences, and the young person can either present it or they can ask their advocate to present it or to have it read out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very small reports. In the supplementary paper tomorrow, He said that IROs say 50% of the report on seen within 48 hours of the meeting. Why is that?
Yes, so we've had a lot of work on that to make sure that reports are coming out in advance so the IROs have time to prepare. Part of it will be the midpoint reviews we're bringing in as well, so the IROs, the IROs are now present in the building, whereas when they're contract workers, they obviously weren't present in our building. So we're building those relationships between the social workers and our IROs. But it's work ongoing to improve the timeliness of it. We're really pushing to make sure that all our reports give enough time to the families, really, to be able to digest that information, the young people. It's really important.
Yeah, because obviously if you go into a meeting, everybody should know what's going to be spoken about, and especially RO, because they chair it.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important that we get that. Yeah.
Our IROs do have access to the system now, so sometimes it's on there and it's just waiting for a sign-off, so they can go in and read it, because they're now contracted to us.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Any further questions? I think we've had some excellent questions. I've got one. I'm getting confused how many staff we have now. Because there's mention in 5.1, I think it is, of 2 additional staff.
Yeah, so we had one contracted worker, been there for a few years now, so they had been brought in 2-3 years, sorry, they've been brought in, and then we've had additional 2 staff, but it's only 1.5 posts. So now we have in total 2.5 posts, but we still have some contracted workers, as Lisa said, picking up little bits of work where perhaps they're incredibly complex, and those relationships are more important. So we have 2.5 posts currently.
Okay, thank you. And with regards to the contracted workers, are they agency workers or are they like call-down contract type?
So they were sort of self-employed?
Yes, yeah. So you call them down as they required to carry out work, yeah. Okay. We'll move on then to any comments. Go on. Councillor Isaac has gone. Sorry, Julia.
Excellent report, and like I said, the early help hub and the early intervention is a great success, and we're very lucky we got enthusiastic and knowledgeable staff in social services. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. Well, again, we have to put my glasses on. Did the committee address the recommendations in the report, and did scrutiny add value to the report? All in agreement? Okay. David? Yeah. David? Yeah. Okay. Reflections? I don't think there's anything outstanding from any previous meetings that I'm aware of. I don't know if members are. I've jumped, sorry. We haven't got any scrutiny referrals, which is number 7. And then reflections. There is one, there's going to be a risk workshop on the 17th of September at 2:30. Okay.
And that's on Teams.
Pardon?
On Teams.
Oh, it's on Teams, is it? Right, okay. And then we've got any other business, deemed urgent by the chair. Before we move on to we deal with the matter which is on the agenda, and perhaps Lisa would like to give an introduction, please, on it.
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to bring members' attention to the fact that there was a report discussed at Scrutiny on the 10th of December, so I know it sounds like a long time ago, that it's come to our attention that 4.2 of the report, there were inaccuracies reported. So the report has been rewritten with that paragraph updated. Unfortunately, papers are already been presented or published before that report could be added. So we asked if it could be put on as any other business, and with scrutiny members' agreement, we will table the accurate report at the next committee on the 14th of October for information, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Well, in view of what has been said, I would like to put forward the following, and I'm looking for a seconder, that the Adult Learning Community Report presented at Social Services Scrutiny on the 10th of December 2024 is made exempt because the report discloses information as defined under paragraph 13, where information is likely to reveal the identity of an individual, the Part 4 of Schedule 12A of Section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972. Would someone please second that before I take it to the vote?
Yeah, a second.
Okay, thank you. And all members in agreement? Yes. Okay. All members in agreement? Were they in agreement? Yeah. Anyone against? No. That's carried. Before I close the meeting, there's been a bit of an update on the white ribbon. The information I've now received is in exceptional circumstances, the committee time can change. Well, I'm going to suggest the exceptional circumstances are the overlap between white ribbon and social services, that members would want to be involved in both items, and that we move the meeting to 2 o'clock to give us sufficient time then for the event starting at 4ish.
Okay.
So are all members in agreement to that? Okay. Well, I think that draws us to the close of the meeting. Thanks for all attending and patience in this stifling hot chamber, and hope you have all of a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.